Hello and welcome to the NTI Pod Talk. My name is Dianne Kaler and I'm Director of Nutrition Therapy Institute. Join me as I talk to interesting people in the field of health and wellness, food and farming, and anywhere else we find conversations that matter to our community. By listening, you'll learn a little about NTI and a lot about the things and people around you that make a difference for your wellness. Welcome and let's get started. Hi there, this is Dianne Kaler, Director of Nutrition Therapy Institute, with another edition of the NTI Pod Talk. Today, I'm so happy to talk to Riley Rees. Riley and I have known each other for several years now. Riley is the CEO and founder of Sofia Health, which is an online marketplace that connects health and wellness professionals to those of us who want to take control of their own health. And so welcome, Riley. I'm so happy to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Diane. It's great to catch up again.
Yes, absolutely. I just want to read something that I saw on your website because it's a good jumping off point for our discussion. So, from your website, it says Sofia Health was born out of the need to create synergy among Western alternative and holistic medicine to bring about true health. More than connecting you with physicians to address symptoms, Sofia Health affords you access to a complete wellness team. And why that is the jumping off point is because graduates of NTI are eligible to become members of your platform to become part of that complete wellness team. And I think it's so important to talk about health in terms of this complete wellness team, because as you say, as I just read from your website, it's not just about having a doctor. It is about having a team of people that have a wide variety of interests and expertise and skills and knowledge that are really going to help people with the guidance and education about taking control of their own health. And that is really what we all have to do. So I love that. And that I think is a great starting point for us. So can you talk about Sofia Health and what Sofia Health is?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is really a place where you can go for anybody, right? Whether you're a provider or client, right? We all have human needs, and it's just a place to go where you can find help with your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health, right? And it takes all of these different axes to be in alignment, right? So, yes, we mentioned the physician piece, but there's so much more, right? There's the daily stress that we're dealing with. And Sofia Health is a compilation of all of these different professionals in one place where you can, and it's not a directory, right? You can actually find and connect and meet them and read their backgrounds, because every practitioner, right, they have these different designations, which you and I have talked extensively about.
Mm-hmm.
And the other reason for the platform is because if we don't put this together, then the future of healthcare depends on a marketing budget of these independent practitioners. And that is not okay, right? Because at the end of the day, this is marketing. Who can be there at the customer's fingertips when they're Googling, I have depression, I need help with XYZ symptom, I'm bloating, I'm trying to do the FODMAP by myself, whatever the case is, they don't know to Google holistic nutrition, therapy, math,
Mm-hmm.
like they don't
Mm-hmm.
understand. I mean, across the board, we have that big disconnect. And that's the reason for this platform, really bringing transparency, bringing these amazing professionals together in one place to help find clients, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I am really interested in hearing about how you even came to the idea of forming this, because you have what I think is a very interesting background, and from the surface is a very conventional background, and it isn't typical of what I would think would be someone who's interested in holistic health. So I'm just going to read some, brief things from your bio. So you are an Air Force officer, pilot, former medevac technician, and as well as a graduate of MIT. And those things don't really speak to holistic health and wellness on the surface. So I
Yeah.
am
Yeah.
really fascinated in hearing about what your background showed you that brought you to this decision that you need to start Sofia Health as a place for a complete wellness solution.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so basically, I started my career. I did want to be a doctor, right, and help people. And fast forward, long story short, I fell in love with aviation and flying. And so I was like, I'm going to be a pilot. But to join the military, I was 18 years old, and they're like, you have to join as enlisted. And so they're like, well, there's this thing called AirVac where you're actually medical, like an EMT slash kind of LPN designation in the military, in the Air Force. And so I was actually medical and spent 2 years in training. So I was an licensed EMT by the time I was like 18 or 19 years old, and then worked in healthcare for 7 years, and then went on to get the qualifications to help patients in the air, right? So that's the AirVac. So I think medical, so we can work in hospitals, which we did for training, and then like I think it was like the air ambulance. So we were working with patients in and out of Afghanistan. I was in the first war, 2003. Sorry, not the first war. I was in the first war I went to in 2003, my first deployment to Iraq and Afghanistan. Um, and perspective of, critical care.
Mhm.
And from there, I finally found my way getting hired at Travis Air Force Base flying C-17s as a reservist out in California. Our backyard is Palo Alto, right in San Francisco. So that will play a factor moving forward. Um, so became a pilot, started flying jets, and then still wanted more. So I actually went to Berkeley to do like a pre-bac program to go back to med school, thinking that was the path I wanted to do. It's too much. I was gone. I was flying 2 weeks a month. I was in and out of Afghanistan. And so that kind of simmered down and then kind of got into startups. And then a personal situation happened. So what happened with me personally is I was a CrossFitter, right? Kind of similar to Colorado, just super outdoorsy people. I was biking all the time, running, got into CrossFit when that was super popular. And I had done a burpee and came up and hurt my neck. I couldn't move anymore. Like, I mean, I was in critical pain. And that was really the kickoff point of what do I do and how I feel like the system kind of failed me. So from that point, I knew not to go to the ER. I know how this process works. I worked in healthcare. So I went to my doctor at Stanford and she's like, I can't take pain pills. Like I'm a pilot. I can't do this. And I was still in pain, mind you, and I had no other solution. I mean, that was it. And I went to Google and Yelp and started this continuous process of trying to find professionals. Turns out I found acupuncture, and he was in the back of a chiropractor's office, just in the no, the website looked kind of terrifying, sure, Yelp. I mean,
Sketchy. Yeah.
it just sketchy was an understatement. He's asking me questions. I was like, what is this? And I was probably 95% better walking out the door.
Wow.
And and that was just mind blowing. So fast forward, now I'm flying, and if I have anything going on, I'm searching for different professionals in different cities, and it was really hard. Fast forward that I started working with at home like health and wellness professionals, and I'm like, hey, this website doesn't look good. Something they would ask you to build their website, and then you would do it. I would do it, and then the minute you get their website done, they don't know how to keep it up. They don't know how to
Mhm.
do the marketing that comes with it, and then you still have to find them and book with them, and it's still hard. And so I was working at a startup to get personalized medical records because another issue I had going from doctor to doctor was I can't get my medical record easy. Like I need to go from doctor to doctor on different systems, and it was just cumbersome. So I was with a startup and we were working out of Palo Alto, and eventually that failed, right? Because these big systems own your medical records and getting the personal data, all the things. But that led me into MIT where I went to grad school because coming from the Air Force and that background of flying, I knew that I was really missing. And by the way, on the side, I had started a nonprofit. I think that's still going today. I had started a few different online stores, as a seller on Amazon. So I had dabbled in that entrepreneur world, but I wanted to go to business school to really hone in my skills, right, as a business person and the connections that come with that. et cetera. And I really wanted to go focus on that because I came from military operations, et cetera. So I go to grad school. The other startup kind of failed, and I kind of looked around, and they give you space at school to to kind of dabble, right? So all of the different projects we would do in all of the different classes, like your marketing class, like you get to come up with a project and present at the end of it. And I just looked around, and at the very beginning, I was like, why do I have access to the top doctors, to insurance, and I'm in pain and I can't find what I need?
Right.
And I actually started out looking in the sector in kind of diabetes and those patients, and we did hundreds of interviews, and they were all saying the same thing. I'm searching and searching and searching. I search for hours a day for different solutions, and I can't find anything. And then we turned to we started talking to nutritionists and, kind of how this whole continuum of care works, right? You go in, you get diagnosed with a disease, they throw some nutrition pamphlets at you, they give you your medicine, and you're out the door. And so when we looked at the providers, they started saying the same thing. I'm not a tech person, and I'm not a marketing person. I just want to help people. And generally, they didn't have clients. And so fast forward years later, we have the Sofia Health platform. So we really focused in on, all of these providers are doing the same thing and struggling with the technology piece, right? Their website, their basic business operations. They don't want to be out integrating. And then the second, biggest thing was marketing. Actually, the third was admin. We don't really solve that problem. There's always admin in business, and we built it like a marketplace. So over time, if you look at the big marketplaces, like for services,
Mm-hmm.
Angie's List, Thumbtack, Yelp, even ZocDoc, they're Amazon, Etsy. There are these massive marketplaces where the consumers are going to get what they need for specific things, right? And goods, and that's a very product market. Thumbtack, Etsy, those are Thumbtack is service based, and I think they're great. But I don't want to have our health and wellness professionals on these platforms where you go get house cleaners, et cetera. And so
Mm-hmm.
how do we have a platform where the consumers are shopping, and it eventually helps the really good practitioners who are showing up there, right? So over time, that'll help reduce our cost of customer acquisition. In the meantime, we have that business infrastructure, that the basic business infrastructure that you have to have, right? So we kind of know like the three pillars in business: your business operations, scheduling, billing, payments, your website, your online presence, and then you have your sales and marketing bucket. What are you doing to drive clients? And then you have kind of in the wellness space, like your client management. And I just want to be clear, we do not help with client management. And I also want to be clear, we don't guarantee clients, right? But
Right.
Amazon doesn't guarantee that you're going to sell products. But if you sell products, you want to show up where the clients are searching.
Yeah.
And that's what we've really done. It's the same concept kind of as Open Table, the reservation system. They kind of help the restaurants have that booking system, that reservation system, and then you can book and make reservations. So it's the same. We're helping streamline their business processes in order to facilitate the customer being able to find you and book you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I know that was a lot.
No, that's good. That's good because that helps not only understand how your service works from a consumer point of view, consumer who's looking for a practitioner, but also, what services do you provide to the practitioners who are on your site, and that's great. And you are completely right. That is one of the biggest, I would say, fears or apprehensions that people have is like, I am so passionate about this subject, and nutrition is awesome, and I love learning about nutrition. I love teaching what I know, and I want to help people and all this kind of stuff. But there is a massive obstacle there to
Massive.
like where do I show up? How do I show up? How do people find me? And when they have a sort of established safe place to go, where they can have a house or a place to live on that platform, that has a track record of consumers going to that platform looking for a practitioner, then that takes away a big obstacle for practitioners to say, okay, I can do this. I can actually do what I'm passionate about and not have to spend so much time with all the little details of having a website and a platform and all those kinds of things. So I think that's awesome that you provide that capability for both consumers and practitioners.
Yeah, absolutely. And even if you have your own website, we know it's a lot. So we know that there's a few stages, right? So for your graduates coming out, you're going to go from I'm completely new and it's overwhelming, right? And there's a lot of business coaches and consulting services out there, and they are amazing, but just get started, so you don't have that fear and you just kind of have to jump in. But the our platform also works for those people who are like, okay, I'm really going to do this. I'm building my website. I'm building all the marketing funnels. You can still use this as a channel, right? So, I mean, all of
Mhm.
the big retailers are still on Amazon. So
Yes.
it's not just for, don't think that if you come to Sophia Health, you can't do this on your own. You absolutely still go. If you're like, I'm going down, I'm doing these funnels, I'm doing my subscriber, if you're into all the things and you're going to go out there and get the business coaches or go to a grad school and you want to jump into it, do it. Absolutely. The more you can do and learn, the better. You're never going to start learning in business. But this is an avenue if you're like, I don't want to be the tech person and I don't want to be on Instagram. We're probably a really good fit.
Right.
So,
Yes. Oh, yes, absolutely. All right. So Sophia Health started in 2019.
mhm.
So
And
you're,
again, even before we officially started, remember, I started grad school in 2017. So it was a few years of the interviews and client interviews and putting all of this together and doing tests. So probably 2 years of
yeah.
testing before we actually
So
launched.
you have this history of, doing this, and that is why you have sort of this like credibility in this field, right? And what I'm curious about though, over the last, 5 to 7 years, um, have you seen, like you already kind of told us a little bit about the different kinds of practitioners are on your platform. Have you seen demand from the consumer standpoint for more different types of practitioners, like something that you would have never thought that people would be looking for? Are there demands for more types of services?
Yeah, absolutely, right?
Yeah,
So we have an aromatherapist who mixes different types of products, and she also has pet care. We just had a call yesterday. One of our clients was looking for booking with one of the docs, but he wanted an iridology appointment, looking in his eye. So as people start to become more open and looking for different services, you wouldn't believe people are out there searching for different solutions to get better on all of the dimensions. And so absolutely show up. So even if you go to NTI and you come out and you're a nutrition therapist master, you're doing the program, what else do you do that you can add on here? Like we let you add
yeah,
services and products, but yeah, people are out there searching and they want to try different services. It's not just, and it's not really practitioner based, right? So each practitioner is different, even if they have the same education. So we see people looking for different categories of health. Like if they want help with nutrition, you could still end up with a physician, a health coach. It's based because of how our platform is set up. People are not always looking for a specific title of practitioner. They're looking for the service that you offer.
hmm yes, that's an important distinction. Yeah, thanks for clarifying that. Um, well, I'm curious through your conversations with consumers, again, on the consumer side, why do you think so many people are looking for resources outside the conventional, standard doctor paradigm?
I
And
mean,
to be
really?
to be clear, you
Yeah,
have doctors on your website, so
we
I'm
do.
not
We're not.
dismissing
We
that.
do not. Absolutely do not.
But why do you think people are looking for all these different resources? Like, what kind of conversations do you have with consumers that enlightens the answer to that question?
I mean, m- m- I think the elephant in the room, and I think what everybody knows is you get 10 minutes with your doctor. And it's really clear now that they're there in we have an acute healthcare system and a chronic disease population, right? And
Mhm.
so when you get to these ends, these points of failure, your doctors are great. But when you're just at home, you're like, I don't feel good. I have this symptom. It's not really where you start. But what is known today in the US very prevalently, although that's changing rapidly, is I know I can go to my doctor for surgeries and pills, and I know I can go to talk therapy. And outside of that, it is I'm trying to find, not only am I trying to find something to solve my problem, how do I trust that that person's good? You know, if you're on janky
Yes.
kind of websites, it's not trustworthy. We see people and their cats on websites. It's like, okay, I don't see my doctor and a cat on their website. I'm not
Right.
probably going to go to you as a health professional. And so yeah, I think that's pretty clear. People are out there. And so I think there's two things, right? So I think there's people who are looking at this from I have an issue. And we also have a lot of I just turned X years old and what's out there for prevention. And I think the prevention space is huge. We have people look at women and their journeys through hormones. So we have people coming to us when they are going through trying to conceive, a lot on going into menopause, perimenopause, and of course there's information you can Google, but when you can get in touch with somebody and it says, functional medicine practitioner, health coach, nutrition therapy graduate, I know what I'm talking about when it comes to these hormones, food, whatever that looks like for the person. I mean,
Mhm.
that's better than going to WebMD and trying to figure things out yourself. And
Yeah.
so we really have these two buckets, the people who are like, I have this kind of, we'll call it pain or issue or symptom. And then you have people who are looking for, I need more information from a trusted source. You know, how do I find the right supplements to take? What do I need to do? What kind of test do I need to do when I'm 40, when I'm 50, 60? What do I do for bones? We have physical therapists who are joining our platform and they are coming with incredible backgrounds, the docs too. I mean, so, and I think that's why a lot of these professionals are coming to our platform is because then they can spend a lot more time with the customers. They can answer their questions and then coach them and guide them. And I think that's really what is helpful for our clients.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. That's great. So I want to shift gears a little bit because you, I think, are a great example of, a businesswoman who's running a successful business. You obviously are very, have a very entrepreneurial mindset. You have a lot of ambition, from your story that you tell us. So this field that I'm in nutrition therapy, and students who come to our school, we attract a lot of women, for a variety of reasons, but most of our students and most of our community are women. And it tends to be a lot of times women who are in their reproductive years, or who already have small children. Um, and so now you rub up against the experience of being a mom and needing to run a business. And that is exactly the position you're in. You are running the successful business, and now you have a 1-year-old. So I think it is really interesting to hear from your perspective, what is that like?
Yeah,
And how do
it's
you,
busy.
yes, and how do you manage that type of life, and be present for both of those facets, um, and be successful in both of those facets?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, but first I want to say, like, I think women are way more incredible than we ever get credit for, and it's no surprise that you attract women. Like, we're the caregivers, we're the ones that care about our health, we're the ones that care about our families, and
Mhm,
so I just want to say thank you for going to NTI and showing up and putting yourself in that position to get the education to take care of the future
mhm,
of your friends, your families, and hopefully with us even and more outside of your friend and family circle,
mhm,
because I think it's really needed. As far as the mom life, I mean, you've been through it. It's a lot. And we have a 12 and a half month old and you're just in the thick of it. And you just
mhm,
have to say, it's just hard right now. You know, a lot of
Mhm.
moms, will come and say, you're in survival mode in that little bit, but those are short periods of time, I've been told. And so, you need a great care team. But as far as, I think there's a lot of mom guilt that's probably not been studied. There's a lot of anxiety for leaving them. And I think when you come out of schools and you have this knowledge, I think the really beautiful part is you get to structure your day and your time how you need to. And I think that's amazing. You get to have your services scheduled when you need to. You can do it around baby sleep time if they're at this super new place. Um, Newborn through, I don't know, you tell me when it gets
Yeah.
easier.
Well,
Is that
I
whenever
don't know. Yeah.
18? I'm not sure.
Well, for us, it was a little bit longer than that. I don't know, but
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
exactly. But yeah, so there are different stages with the kids, and having a good support team helps probably tremendously. But you can't look at, I would say mindset's huge. You can't look at this like all or nothing. You can't look at this as I can't squeeze in consults or services or group classes. You have to take care of yourself. Being a mom is like a marathon. It's not sprints, and you probably can't do it all on your own.
Mhm.
You need support. And some days you're not going to wash your hair for a week. It's
Yeah.
okay. Just know that that's where you're at right now. And doing both, I think, is definitely manageable. And you just have to have that right mindset that you're not being overwhelmed with, I have to do this and I have to do that and I should have done this. It's one day at a time. And moms, especially in these early stages, are really doing the best they can. But know that you can structure your day and your time to do your business and work on your business when you choose to. And that's just what you have to do. And if that's at night when they go to sleep, that's what you have to do. And but just know that every little day, if you keep going, you're going to make progress.
Mhm.
And you have to know that you get this education to show up for other people, and other people desperately need this education that you have.
Yeah, definitely. I am curious, because I know when I was a mom of a young child, there was a lot of conflict for me, inner conflict for me, because I wanted to do things differently than what the mainstream was telling me to do in raising my child. In terms of health and discipline. I mean, all kinds of things. I always felt like I was, swimming upstream and always going against the grain. So I'm curious, as a mom of a 12-month-old, knowing what you know about kind of complementary health and alternative wellness care and those kinds of things, are you feeling any kind of pressure or conflict from mainstream messaging about what's the right way to, take care of your child's health and those kinds of things that are in conflict with what you're experiencing in your business,
Yeah,
the work
really,
you do?
really, really great question. And I did just have a little situation which was interesting. So I would say, one, I don't get the noise. I'm not on social media. I mean,
Yeah.
again, I'm in survival mode. I'm not, my team is, I'm not scrolling to see to have that guilt from what I see on mainstream. So that's super helpful right now.
Hmm.
Um, but I will tell you that, just knowing what I know, I am very particular about foods. I do make a lot of his foods. And so and there are these pivotal moments, right? So you go from, okay, you hit one, okay, you can introduce different foods. We're dealing with some food allergies potentially. So just all these different points. But I do definitely spend a lot of time researching. But when you start that researching point, like, okay, what do we do about milk, for example? You're told whole milk. Should you do this? But we know what
Hmm.
inflammation does. So we know all of these
Hmm.
different pieces. And one, I think at the end of the day, whatever you choose as a mom is your decision, and you should just
Hmm.
own it and be okay
Hmm.
with it, and not have
Hmm.
any shame or guilt about anything that anybody else is supposed to be telling you to do. Because it's hard. You're making a million decisions for another little life, and you know that
Hmm.
you did that,
Hmm.
so it's hard. And but I did go to the pediatrician, and I brought up this milk thing, and I'm like, what are we supposed to do moving from bottled formulas to milk? And he's like, I'm supposed to tell you to go to whole milk. And he's like, we drink it, but after there's a functional medicine doc in the office, and he's been doing a lot of presentations, and he's like, I really can't tell you to do that anymore. And so when you hear this from your physician, and he's like, I got no nutrition training at school. He's like, you know this. He's like, I'm not your nutrition person. You need to go to XYZ nutrition, right? That's when people are turning to the nutrition. So this is another one of those places where I need to turn to nutrition experts. Is that a nutritionist, a dietitian, or this holistic nutrition space would be amazing to have more
Mhm.
people to find and ask about this. And
Mhm.
I just, where do you go to get this source of information? You know, I talk about this a lot. It's,
Yeah.
um, I don't have time to go to studies. And then what do you end up doing? Right. So
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah. Well, and that's where that team comes in, the team approach. So yeah, I think that the guilt and the pressure on moms with young kids is, I think it's pretty intense. I mean,
I think it's more intense than people give. I have extreme mom guilt all the
yeah,
time,
yeah, yeah. And,
like all the
when I
time.
was raising my kid, there wasn't even social media.
Oh yeah.
He's 24 years old. So there wasn't social media. I wasn't getting this information from social media. I was getting it from, moms groups and my
Oh, those are
doctor. And
hard. Those
yeah,
are sometimes even harder, right?
yeah,
Because then you
yeah.
get all their opinions, and then you're like, well, this person might be a friend or a trusted whatever, or she holds whatever stature. I mean, that
Mhm.
makes it, I think, even harder than random
Yeah.
social media people, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The anonymous social media people. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, anyway, and, and I think that, students in our program and then graduates from our program, because they are being, exposed to a wider viewpoint, they can start seeing where that pressure and that conflict comes in, because many of them are, as I said, moms, or in a position in their life where they're becoming moms within this time period. So,
And
um,
it's enough pressure to make you say, like, I'm not doing this anymore. My
yeah.
family is more important. And we know it is. It's just, and that's a personal decision that each person has to make if they want to keep going or hang it up or set your
Mhm.
schedule. And maybe, in the beginning, let yourself have that time, 3 months or 6 months or a year, whatever that is. Like, give yourself space to enjoy it. But, you know, it's education and it's not going away. And you can always set your
Mhm.
schedule to manage
Yeah.
both.
Yes. And, I will say that I think it's important to find groups, you know, ideally in-person groups, but of course, if online is all you have access to, who are more like-minded, so that you can get some validation and some support in the way you want to make your choices. And I know for me, I really once I learned about the Weston A. Price Foundation, I went full speed towards that group, and that was my support system for my alternative, quote unquote, ways that I wanted to raise my child. And so I do think that's important as well, is finding that group of like-minded people.
Oh, I think it's really important to have that support team, right? Whether that's people helping you, you have to have a support team, right?
Yeah,
Handle your
absolutely.
the mental side of it. That's super helpful for those like, okay, is this normal? What does this poop look like? What does this throw up look like? All the way down to, is it too soon to go back? Can I go back to work? I mean, and
Yeah.
women's hormones are just all over the map, right?
Mhm.
After you've had a child, you
Mhm.
can probably speak a lot to that. And so how are
Yeah.
we taking care of ourselves? So I think it's
Right.
really important. And yeah, and raising a baby, I just know that food matters a lot. So I'm very,
Mhm.
very particular about the food.
Yeah, well, I mean, nutrition and what you eat, that is the primary, foundation of everything. And so,
Yeah, and we
it is
know it.
surprising that most people don't realize that.
Yeah, and when you asked me earlier, like why are people coming, why are people still searching? It's because docs are now kind of maybe admitting it, or at least mine did. Like, hey, I did not get this, you're the pediatrician. I did
Yes,
not study this in school.
yes.
Even if they did study some things, it's like I got 2 weeks on this. I got an entire business master's, but that doesn't mean I'm pro in all things. You know what I mean? So there's
Mhm.
different
Mhm.
types of philosophies, but at least the docs are admitting it. Like I did not study XYZ piece of
Mhm.
this medicine, this human anatomy, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's where all of your graduates come into play.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so you said something just a moment ago. You said, "How do I take care of myself?" So I'm going to ask you that question. How do you take care of yourself?
Oh my gosh. So I'm just gonna start running again, and it's been a year. But I was doing walking every day. I mean, I would take the baby out of the house, we'd walk every afternoon. So getting, that stopping point with work, then switching gears and saying, okay, this is the stop time, you know, it's baby focus time. I'm done with work, go straight to the baby. And then we were going for a walk. And
Mhm.
then meditation. And then I try
Mhm.
to eat, trying to eat I wouldn't say balance because I'm not going to lie. I think that's really hard for me. Like in the Ayurveda model, Dr. Sheila Patel came on and she's like, you were straight up Vata Pitta. So if you guys don't know that, I feel like that's like the OG holistic health and that system. But yeah, I try to definitely eat healthy.
Mhm.
um, and the greens and stuff like that. It may not be as many times during the day as I should, but so what I eat, meditation, and then the movement. And again, I'm normally like to get up and run first thing in the morning. Of course, that does not happen, and I'm still struggling with mom guilt. Every time I have to take time for myself, that's time away from my son. And so, if anybody has any tips on that, please let me know because it's still you're still going to struggle with something, but we still were walking. I just really miss my runs.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, when you said you walk every day with the baby, that reminded me, uh, my very first day after my son was born, I don't know how old he was, but my very first time where I went for a walk by myself,
Mhm.
with him in the stroller. We had two dogs. I attached the leashes to the stroller, you know, and I went for a walk by myself without needing to have my husband with all the,
Yep.
stuff and the gear and the
Yep.
support. I felt so proud of myself. My husband got home from work. I was like, I went for a walk by myself. And then, it seems silly now, but um as you say, everyone needs to do whatever fits in their day, fits in their life, fits in their consciousness, whatever, to take care of themselves, because um if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anyone else. And
Yeah, we
everyone
say
knows
that,
that.
right? Like in the airline industry, put your mask on first. You have to
Right.
be, you do that, but you still have mom guilt, and I'm still
Yes.
there. And by the way, when I first did my first walk with my son, I only made it maybe a block and a half, and then we came back. So
Yeah.
I didn't even make it. He started crying, and I was just like, okay, I'm done. So
Yeah.
I didn't make it that
Yeah.
far.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It's a big thing to do all that. So,
Yeah, it's really hard. But again, this is, if you want to do your business and not feel guilty about it, good luck. Mom guilt is real. And I think
mhm,
you're gonna struggle with that probably forever, right? I just
mhm,
think at some
mhm,
point, maybe if it's extremely bad, you have to go see somebody. But
mhm.
you just have to go day to day and take care of yourself and your family the best you
Yeah.
can. And then don't live in regrets and that rumination period of I should have done this, I feel guilty.
Yes.
I stopped to take a shower and wash my hair. Oh, he's gonna be fine.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. Yep. Totally. Well, you're right. The mom guilt is there, and you just kind of have to
I mean,
recognize,
if we're
acknowledge
talking,
it,
yeah, yeah,
and then move on.
if we're talking about mom guilt with getting ready and taking time for ourselves to eat and to bathe and to maybe get out and do movement, how are we looking and expecting women to show up online and run a business with other clients? I mean, it feels selfish,
Mhm,
but at the end of the day, you're helping people with live healthier, sustainable lives. Like they
mhm,
actually need you, right? So it is,
mhm.
if all of our doctors were like, I'm not going back to work, I'm having kids, like we would need docs. Like I feel like it's the same. Like we actually need your expertise. Like people actually need you. And I'm not trying to make you feel guilty, of course, but
Yeah.
I do think it's serious enough to where, of course, you can make a decision to not work, but I just want you to know and hear it from me that there are people out there searching for solutions, and there are people out there searching for, tips for their family and their kids. And even if you're like, I'm going to give an hour a day to taking clients or something, or an hour a week, whatever it is, it's better than nothing.
Yes, absolutely. And, it doesn't, as you say, it doesn't have to be full time. And there is enough demand that all of us together can fulfill the need. And it's not on one person's shoulders to
Correct.
work 12 hours a day
Exactly.
to fulfill all those needs. So yeah,
Exactly,
absolutely.
exactly. And also, like you mentioned, it's being a mom is, you have different periods of life. Eventually they'll go to school, and then you'll be able to
Mhm,
shower and to do your own things, and to
mhm,
breathe a little bit,
mhm.
hopefully. So
Yeah,
it's time to
yeah.
get to business. It's time to get to work.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Well, this has been a really fun conversation. I so much appreciate you being on, sharing your story with our community. I think it's very inspiring and enlightening. And, just as a reminder, graduates of NTI are able to get access to become one of the practitioners on your platform. And you give a really lovely incentive to our graduates, and we are very appreciative of that. So thank you for doing that. And I think I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to ask you. Anything else you want to share or say before we leave?
No, it's just always a pleasure to get to chat with you, and I appreciate you. And again, I you appreciate you. You have a family. You show up. You went to school at NTI, and then you turned and took on the business of it. And I think that it's amazing. And I just thank you from a consumer standpoint, where when we go and we're looking for trusted information, is because of you and the school. It really is.
Thank
And
you.
and a lot of times business people don't get thanked enough, but I really appreciate what you're doing. Like, we really need this information from these trusted sources. And if you chose to not do this, we wouldn't have any of NTI or the graduates or people with this education and information moving forward. And it's much needed in the community. So
Mhm.
so thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your kind words. All right. Well, have a lovely rest of your day, and thanks
Yeah.
so much for being here.
Thank you, Diane.
Hi, Diane Kaler here again. If you found this conversation interesting and haven't already become a student at NTI, check us out at ntischool.com. We hope to see you soon.